Have you tried using the back of embossing folders? In this video, I show you how. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I have a tag to share with you where I'm using the reverse of an embossing folder. This is a really cool technique that I learned from Erum. So let's get started. This is the new Whimsy Motif 3D embossing folder. I've taken a Terrific Tags die and I've cut that from classic Crest £110 solar white cardstock. And because I'm creating a tag today, I am using that tag to add the embossing, or should I say the debossing to it. But you could definitely do this with a panel of cardstock for a card as well. So I'm taking the front of the tag and placing it into the back of the embossing folder. This is so that I can see where it's going to actually deboss the image. I've then run that through my die cutting machine. So now on the back of the tag is the embossed look, which is what I would usually do. But on the front of the tag is the debossed look, and that's the side that I'm using today. I want to add some ink blending and some colour onto this tag. So I'm placing that down onto a low tack sticky mat. And I'm taking the Sweet Dreams Fresh Dye Ink collection. I love that I've now got the labels on them to differentiate between the colours, which is really nice. So I'm taking the lightest shade first and I'm adding that on with a small blending brush. I just want a really light kind of sweep of this colour, and I am going over the entire image. I want the leaves to have some teal tones and some green tones to them. I really love that look of having kind of like two-toned shades of leaves, but if you wanted them to be separate colours, you can definitely do that and just be a little bit more precise with the ink blending. I'm then going to go through the different shades of the Sweet Dreams inks from the kind of middle shade that I've just added on, which is Aqualicious. I'm then going to go in with Teal Cave and then Galactic Stream, and for these ones I'm using a mini blending brush because I just want to focus the darker colour towards the base of the flower and then also the base of the leaves as well. So ordinarily I don't like to show videos using someone else's technique. However, I am doing it in a slightly different way than Erum does, and so I thought that I would share that with you today. But I do want to make sure that Erum gets the recognition she deserves because this is a fantastic technique and I really love using it. It works really well with lots of different embossing folders, but you do want to remember that you're using the mirror image of what it looks like on the front of the embossing folder rather than, you know, like actually what it looks like is going to end up looking like on the back of the embossing folder. So now I'm going in with some green tones for the leaves, and I'm using the Green Valley Crisp dye inks, and I'm just using the two lightest shades today, so that's Firefly and Grass Field, and I'm adding the green sort of towards the tips of the leaves. Like I say, I really love having the two-toned look on these leaves, but you could definitely do this in lots of different colour combinations. I think that these colours work really nicely with the black that I'm going to add on top. I really love kind of like the contrast between the two. But you could definitely do this kind of like all in blues, and then instead of adding the black ink, which is what I'm going to do now with the Obsidian Pigment Ink, you could go in like with a really dark blue or like a really dark purple or something like that. You can definitely do this with lots of different colour combinations, but here I'm taking a deep breath and then I'm going to swipe over the Obsidian Pigment Ink. This is a really dark black ink, so it works really nicely for this technique, and it's going to cover up all of that extra ink blending that I've done, but also go over where it's now embossed, so like the highest levels, and it's going to leave the debossed with the nice colour of the ink blending that I added on top. I do like to have some of that black ink go over the areas of the debossing. I just think I quite like that look, even though that's not generally something that I would usually like. I do think it works really nice for this technique, so I am going in with kind of like a middling filling layer of pressure so that I get some of that black into the debossed areas, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And I'm going to bring in some other examples here of where I've used different kind of levels of pressure to add that black ink on top, and you can see how it works in slightly different ways. The one here on the right hand side, I did like a very light layer of that black, but which I love because you can kind of get a really nice contrast of the colours, like the colours really pop. But I don't think you get so defined lines of where the kind of flower petals are. So I'm going with the one that I did today, but you can definitely use this kind of technique in different pressures and it works really nicely as well. So for the sentiment, I'm taking a piece of jet black cardstock and I'm going to prep that with an anti-static powder tool, just removing that excess powder, and then I'm going to stamp the sentiment from the Sincere Sentiment stamp set, and I'm using the High Friend sentiment today. I thought this was quite a nice generic one. I thought that I would probably use this tag maybe to add on to like a Happy Mail package to a friend or something like that. So I'm popping the flip plate on top of the base of the stamp wheel here. I can flip over that plate and then I can ink up the stamp using embossing ink. This is a clear sticky ink so that when I add the embossing powder on top, it's going to stick to it. So just inking up that stamp really well with that clear ink. And then I can flip over that top flip plate and then press that down to stamp the sentiment onto the black cardstock. I can remove that from the stamp wheel and then I can apply some pure white crisp embossing powder. And I do like to apply it a few times, tap off the excess so that I get a really nice coverage of that powder. I'm then going to heat set that with my heat tool, and I do like to heat set from the front and the back of the cardstock. It does help to prevent a little bit of warping and also make sure that I don't overheat that powder. So once that's heat set, I let that cool for a couple of minutes and then I'm just removing any excess powder using a cloth. I'm then taking a brush tip pen and I'm going around the outside edges of the tag. This is so that you can't see the white core of the cardstock that I used. I think it just neatens it up a little bit. I wasn't sure whether I was going to add a white tag onto the back of this tag or a black one, and I felt that when I lined up the white one behind the front one that it looked nicer with a black tag, so I wanted to make sure that I cover most of the white core of this tag here. Some of the areas where it's kind of really debossed into, I left it because I think it looks fine and you don't really see that. So I've cut another of the tags from some jet black cardstock and I'm applying quite a lot of glue tape onto the back of this tag. Because I'm adhering this tag onto the back of the other tag and the back of the other tag is the embossed side, I want to make sure that this really sticks down well. So I'm pretty much covering that completely with that glue tape, and then I can pop the other tag on top. So they're sandwiched together and it just looks a little bit neater from the back. And if I wanted to write a personal message on the back, I could use a white gel pen for that. I'm then adding some twine through the top of the tag and then I can tie that in a bow at the front. So I can just fiddle with that bow for a little while like I usually do. And then once I'm happy with the size of the bow, I can cut those tails down. So I've cut my sentiment down into a strip and I'm taking some of the Instant Dimension foam tape, cutting that to size, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the outside edges of that foam tape with the black pen. So just making sure that that's the right size. It actually was the right size, but I decided to cut it down further just in case. I'm then taking that same black pen, this is from the fine liner set, and I'm just going around the outside edges of the foam. It's not going to like really darken them, but if you happen to look from the side of the tag, it kind of like won't stand out so much that it's white foam. So it's quite a good trick if you don't have any black foam tape. So just going around the outside edge of that foam tape. I did get quite a lot on my fingers, but it did wash off quite easily. I can remove the backing off of that foam tape, and then I can pop the sentiment down onto the tag, and I'm just using some tweezers here so that I can kind of hover it in place before I stick that down. And that is the tag finished for today. I really love how that black works against the different colours in the flower and the leaves, but like I said, you could definitely do this kind of like monotone or lots of different colour combinations. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.